Okay, hello, good evening, and welcome back to our fourth day for the JavaScript. And today we are actually going to modify our HTML using our JavaScript. So all the basics are already completed. So today we will do the JavaScript specific stuff, and so that we can prepare ourselves for the tomorrow's project. First of all, a good evening and a quick check if I'm audible. Like I think people are still joining. Yeah. And before starting, I'll just like to tell you how you can mark your attendance because that is very, very important. If you want to get your certificates, you have to mark your attendance every day. So let's just go here in our description. You will find this link here, this one link. Just click on this link, and everything you're going to find here, na, how you can mark your attendance, how to download your certificate. So I think by tomorrow you are going to get a special button to generate a certificate, and you can download it from here. So let me just go down a bit, and you will see this day 4 DOM manipulation. So this is what we are going to do today, and just click on our mark attendance and how much you like this session on the scale of 0 to 10. And I'm going to go with 10 here. And if you're interested in our 6 month of full stack program, you can mark yes and no. And you should be, because right now we are giving off 7,000 rupees off if you use the coupon code refer20, REFER. You can find these coupon codes in the description as well. And you can also earn some prize money from 2,000 to 80,000, or from a wireless mouse to a MacBook Air, just by referring our courses to the people who may need this. And if you have any suggestion, nothing for now, submit. And this is so easy. So this is how you can mark your attendance. Your attendance should be more than 50%, so then only you can get your certificate. And if you want to connect with us on our WhatsApp group or Telegram group, you can join those group from here. And one more thing, that if you want to talk with us related to anything related to our courses and all, you can just click here and you can easily talk with us, so we can connect, we can decide what is going to be better for you. So this is so shall we start? Okay, yeah, congratulations, you got placed in Capgemini. Okay, console.log is similar to println in Java. My question is how to implement the print with the JavaScript. Uh, like we don't actually have anything other than a console.log in JavaScript. So I think you're talking about, yeah, we have console.groups and all. So we have very different ways to log it out something on the console. I'll just show it to you so you can figure it out by yourself. So most of the time we just go with the console.log. So by the way, this is the project on which we are working on right now. And today we are just going to target our DOM elements. So anything which is available on your screen here, basically your HTML, we call them as a DOM object. Yeah, DOM object means it's a very special kind of object which actually have all of your HTML elements. Let me just show it to you. So I am just going to open our console panel just by right clicking and console here, and let me just keep my console at the right side. And if I'm going to do a console for a very special thing called as document, if I save it here, you will see that I'm getting some sort of thing, na? Console.log and just do document. So I'm literally just writing a single line of code here, console.log and document here. And you're seeing this kind of stuff here. Let me just open this. So if you are going to open this, you are actually seeing your whole complete HTML. See, it have head, body, and everything, literally everything. And from here by using this object, you can basically target any HTML element. Yeah. So by the way, I think you're talking about, like, we have console.log group. So console.group, group. So you can use this as well if you want to have some sort of grouping thing. Then we have tables and all. So we have so many ways to log something on our screen. So this one is group. So if you want to have some sort of group here, you can use it. So let me add some more groups. So right now I'm just having a single group with multiple consoles here. Then if you want, you can also have something called as console.log error, console.table, console.war. So we have so many of them. So it's a little bit different from Java. So because it's web friendly, na? So in web, console.log makes sense. Yeah, I hope. Document and window are same. No, actually window is a global object. Window is a global object, so I think most of you are not going to understand this one. But there is an object in our JavaScript, and we call it as window. So window is basically an object given to us by our browser and JavaScript, in which you have so many functions and things and all. Inside this window, you actually have this document. The document is a part of window. By the way, let me just ignore it for now because it's gonna make so much of confusion. And I think today VS Code got updated, and now it's also giving me some sound cues. So whenever I'm typing something, I'm also hearing a sound, like some sort of some small sounds here. I think I just got it today. So just let me know if you're also uh, hearing some sounds when you're typing on a VS Code. Yeah. So there is an object called document, and it is an object. Remember your object? Yesterday we created some object by ourselves. So how do we create some object? Const name for your object, then just create a name, let's say obj equal and those curly brackets. So this is how we create some objects. An object can basically have some values inside of it, like this name John, and also it can have some sort of functions. So this is how object can have some values or functions. And if you want to access something, suppose if you just want to access this name here, or if you just want to call this function, how we do that? So let me just write something, console.log, and hello, let me just write John here for now. Yep. And if I'm going to type obj dot say hello, and if I save it, I'm actually calling this function, a function which is actually inside of an object. So object name dot and the function name, isn't it? So why I did have given you a recap, because this document thing is again is an object with so many functions inside of it. So there are some function which can help us to target the elements from our HTML. Okay, so let me just add a h2 here. Okay, let me just write, let's say I'm going to create two h2 here. So this h2 is gonna be 1, and this h2 is gonna be 2. So inside my HTML, I'm just adding two h2s here. And if you want, you can also see these two h2s here like this. Let me just add a line break, br. I think it's a display of flex, so it won't affect anything. Let me just bring this. Uh, like I'm just going to remove everything because we don't need anything right now. I just need two h2s here. Okay, now I just have two h2s here because we are just actually going to target this by our document here. And suppose if you want to grab these two elements, and why would you like to grab them? Because you basically have to modify them. So suppose if you want to change their inner content, or if you just want to change their styling and all. So in that case, first we need to target these elements. So there are so many ways to do that, and one way is by doing. So inside this document, we have a function called get element by tag name. Okay, so here we have a function called get element by tag name inside of this document object. And all you need to do inside this object, you just need to pass the tag you want to target. So right now I just want to target these h2 tags. Yeah, and this function is exactly going to do that. And after grabbing them, it's actually going to return those elements. So we basically have to save those elements somewhere. So I'm just going to create a variable elements, and let's just save these things inside of it. And I'm just going to do a quick console dot log of elements, see what we are getting. And if you can see here, I'm getting some sort of an array. So why I'm getting array here in this scenario? Like why I'm getting a array? I'm getting array because I have two h2s. So this function grabbed two h2s, and I'm getting an array of two elements. So the first element is this and the second element is this. Yeah, it's just starting. And let me just show you the another way to grab the elements. Suppose if your elements have some sort of id, let's say this is going to have id of 1, and the second one is going to have the id of 2 here. So now these two elements have ids of 1 and 2 here. So what I will do, const one element equal to document dot get element by id, and here you need to write the id of the element that you want to grab. So document dot get element by id. Yeah, so we are going to cover some basic functions. Like first one we have get element by id, second by class name, third by tag name, then we have query selector and query selector all. So we are going to cover these 5 waves. So we have many more, but you don't have to basically learn about each and every one of them. And you can use these functions according to your requirement. So if you feel comfortable with ID, you can basically go with the ID, or if you want to select something on the basis of their tag name, you can that as well. So let me just log it out for you. So all those functions are actually just going to do the same thing. They are just going to target an element, and they are going to return that element to us. And if there is just a single element, like in the case of a get element by id, there is just going to be a single element, obviously, because all the elements are obviously going to have the different ids. So with this id, you're just going to have a single element. So in this case, I'm just going to get a single element. And if there are multiple elements, in that case, I'm going to get an array. In that array, I'm going to get all the possible things here. So this get element by id is actually going to give you an element from your html, which is having id of 1 here. And let's see, I'm getting this 1 here. Yeah, id 1. And before moving to some other ways, let me just tell you how you can also change the content of this element. So now inside this variable 1el, inside this variable 1el, I'm having this element. And now if I want, I can basically modify it. So let me just grab it. So what I'm going to do, so suppose if you want to change its inner text content, if you want to change its text content, just write it like this: one dot, like your variable dot text content here. Just type dot text content and make it equals to anything. So I'm just going to make it equals to, let's say, hello world. And if I'm going to give a save, see, now the content is changed. Now instead of this one, it's updated to this hello world. Okay, and now if you want to change the style as well, so suppose if you want to change the style, so you're not liking the css, which like right now it does not even have the css. So there is still multiple ways. So let me just tell you the first way to change the styling of any element. By the way, these things are going to be same no matter what function you use to grab it. So no matter what function you use to grab the element, but these functions are going to be same. So whenever you want to change the text content, just use this one, just your variable name dot text content, and just make it equals to whatever you want it to be. When to use console.log, uh, when we use function, the data in the log is printed and the cursor is moved to the next line. How we can okay. So you okay, Dinesh, actually there's nothing like in the JavaScript, basically because we are it's the interpreted language back, because so if I'm gonna show it to you, so see, so you can basically write your JavaScript inside the console. So JavaScript is interpreted language. So Actually, it's look like this. Press enter and you will automatically move to the next line. So if you want to have something in the same line, you can just log it out in a single line. Yeah, it's not inner HTML is little different. So you will always jump to the next line because it's interpreted. How you can change that it is in the const variable? Yeah, so yeah, that's a very nice question you have asked. So right now I'm not changing this variable. I'm not actually changing this variable. Because it's an object. So this thing is an object, and I'm changing an object's property, a variable of the object. Let me just show this to you so that it will be much more clear for everybody. So when I create a variable like this by using const, obviously I cannot change it. It's gonna give me throw me some errors and all. But if I, let's say if I create an object here, obj, and inside this object I'm going to have a name John here. Yeah, so it's gonna throw me error. First one is obviously going to throw me the error, so I'm just going to remove it from here, and let me just change the obj to something else. So I'm making this object equals to 34. So this time I'm gonna get the error because I'm changing this obj to 34, and I'm going to get an error here. As soon as I save it, see, I'm getting an error. You're trying to change the object like this constant thing. You're trying to change the constant thing, but you can basically change the property of this. So I can basically write dot name to Jane. So this is completely valid because I'm not changing this object here. I'm changing a property of this object. I'm changing a variable which is inside of this object. So this is completely fine. This is completely fine. And this is exactly the same thing I'm doing here. In this scenario, I'm exactly doing this. So this one element is an object, and this object have a property called text content, and I'm changing it to hello world. So that is completely valid. Let me just save it so that I can show it to you. See, this time I'm not getting any error. Right now I'm not getting any error. So this is the reason behind that. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So if you want to, let me just have one more. Let me just. So by the way, if you want to change the text content, you can do it by like this. But if you want to have, so let me just comment it out. And if you just want to insert some sort of HTML, if you want to write some sort of HTML inside this element, you need to do inner HTML dot inner HTML. Now make it equals to, and you can basically write any HTML here. So if I want to write some, let's say this. So let me just write h1 here. See. So right now I am writing literally a HTML inside this thing. So see, now I'm having some sort of HTML, and there was basically some styling already pre-applied. Let's remove this all the styling from here. Okay, now it's h1. How I did this? Just grab the element, like whatever element you want to grab, just grab it, and next thing you have to do is to just type the element name dot inner HTML, a text content. Inner HTML will allow you to write, like to just put some sort of HTML inside of that HTML element. Yeah. So here I'm just putting some HTML inside of that this element one, and which is just actually this element here. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Now moving on. So I don't generally prefer this one because it has some security concerns. So we never use it because it may lead to some security bugs and all. So always just go with text content. Never use this, use that one. It's gonna give you some unnecessary error. Yep. Now suppose if you want to change the styling, so how you can do that? Just type the element name dot dot style, and again you have to put a dot, and here you can basically mention any CSS property. Let's say color, and make it equal to red, and now it is red. Yeah. Suppose you want to change the font size, just write one element name dot style dot color. So it's actually style is another object. Inside this object we have all these CSS properties here. If I'm going to save it, see, font size is also changed, and you can basically write any. Let me just have, let's say, border as well. So now I'm changing the border, If you want to have, let's say, a background color, let me just add padding. You can basically write your complete CSS from here. Yeah, let me just change the background color. There's only one difference in the CSS property and in these kind of property, that these things cannot have hyphen in them. So if you know about the CSS background color property, it's not actually like this. It is going to have a hyphen inside of it. No? So this is how we write background color in CSS. But this is not valid in JavaScript. This is not valid in JavaScript. So what you need to do, just remove the hyphen and capitalize the first letter after that. So background color, and save it, and now you have this. Yeah, so this is how you can style your elements by using your JavaScript. We can change the value of the object. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's camel casing. We call this thing camel casing. uh, in an assign statement, the difference between variable assignment and the object is only object we can change the property. Is it correct? In an assign, let me try to understand your what you're saying. Assignment, the difference between variable assignment and the object assignment is only on an object. We can change the property. Yeah, exactly. You can change the property of an object because like if you want to get into the details, actually if you use the const, you can change the memory location of that variable. So like when you change the value, you are actually changing the location, memory location, whatever you had that on memory location. So that's why. So in object you don't touch that when you change those properties. So like into details, like it's not that necessary right now. Is there any mandatory statement in the header files in the JavaScript which are needed to be declared? No, Dinesh, you don't have to mention anything. No, Krishna, you cannot use hyphens. Hyphens are not allowed in JavaScript because when you create your variable name, you can use any letter from 0 to 9, capital letter A to capital letter Z, small letter A to small letter Z, and some special symbols like dollar sign and underscore. Other than that, you cannot use any special symbol like hash. You cannot use hash, and these kind of things are not allowed. Generally, these are not allowed in any programming language. Yeah. Okay, so this is the first way by which you can style something, but I'm going to tell you the one more way by which you can style something, and that is why basically if you don't like to write each and every property like this, and if you want to use the CSS property name only, you don't want to use these camel cases and all. So how you can do that? Just write this the element that you have grabbed dot style equal to and here you can use something called as backtick. So what is this backtick is? So like we have the double quote, then we have single quote, then we have something called as backtick. So you can basically find backticks. Let me just show it to you on screen. So below the escape key, you can find this character here. So this one. So this one is actually the backtick. Yep. So what's the and inside this backtick, you can basically mention a string. But now the benefit is you can basically have spaces here. So here you can literally write your CSS property like this. Exactly. So you just need to mention everything as a string here. And let me just save it. See, now I have this. So just this use these backticks. Just use these backticks, and in between of these backticks, you can basically write your CSS like core CSS. So that's easier way to do that now. So this one, if you want to use this, you can use this. Again, just type the element name dot style equal to and use the backtick, and after inside this backtick you can basically write your CSS. If you want, you can literally copy paste your CSS. Yeah. Okay, then give me an explanation between the scripted language and object oriented. I think your question is the difference between function. Basically, that question is not complete. You cannot basically compare a scripting language with an object programming language. You can compare object programming language or OOPS language with a functional oriented language. Object oriented language versus function oriented language. And I think your question is about interpreted language or a compiled language. So Java is, if you're comparing with it with the Java, so Java is a compiled language, and JavaScript is an interpreted language. It's not actually complete interpreted. It also is compiled. So in like if you just want to know the basics, so compiled language is a language where the complete code is actually going to get compiled in a single run. So in the single run, the compiler, the translator of your programming language to the computer language, it's actually going to translate complete program, and then you will get an executable file, and then you can run that. But in the case of an interpreted language, each and every line is going to get interpreted line by line. So you will see the output right away. So interpreted languages are fast, and but compiled languages are secure. Not secure actually, bug little bit bug free. So that's the difference. JavaScript is a combination of both. So that's a complete different territory because it's actually going to take me 2-3 weeks if I just want to cover everything in so detail here. So right now this is an essential session. So we are just covering the essentials of JavaScript, and obviously then we will have an advanced JavaScript session, and there you can basically understand about these advanced concepts. Yeah, by the way, this is the second way by which you can style something in JavaScript. Yeah, and I'm also going to tell you the another way or as well. But before that, let me just tell you about something called as event listeners. So it's gonna be very important to understand about what is an event listener. So suppose I just want, whenever user is going to click on this hello world thing, I just want to change this content. Okay, the content inside of it to something else. So I just want to react to some user action. So if a user is going to perform something, I just want to react over that. So how we can do that? So in JavaScript, any user action, we call it as an event. Okay. So a user is going to select this thing, it's an event. If I'm basically moving my mouse over this thing, it's an event. If I'm basically clicking somewhere, suppose I'm clicking here, so it is an event. So let me just create a button as well. Suppose if I have a button like this, and let me just create this button only now, this button, and let me just give it an id of btn, and let me just style it from here, btn, it's actually the id, and just let me just style it. Okay, and I can remove these two things. So now I have a button here, and let me just remove everything. Okay, so I have a button here, and as soon as user is going to click on this button, I just want to do something. So for that, I'm just going to have a h1 here like this, and let me just give it an id of title, title, title here. Let's just grab this thing in ours, title, and just style it a bit. Yep, and let me just change the colors and all. Color, let's say hash 333. Okay, I think that's more than enough. And let's have some sort of animation for the hover as well. Okay, so what I did here, I basically created a button, and I want, like, oh sorry, I think I need to have some sort of border here as well. The button is basically getting hidden. So border 1 pixel solid. Okay, much better. Okay, so what I want actually, like whenever user is going to click on this button, I just want to perform some action. Like I just want to add something inside that, what we say, that HTML, this title here. So how we are going to do that? So first of all, I'm going to grab that title thing by using its ID. So title equals to document dot get element by id, and here you just need to pass the id, and let me just grab the button as well. So btn, okay, equals to document dot get element by id, and here I'm just passing the id of it. So now I have grabbed this h1 as well as this button into my JavaScript. Now next thing I want to do, I just want to set up an event listener. So what is an event listener? First of all, every action which is performed by the user is an event for us. Yeah, is an event for us, and we can basically set up a listener for that event. So I'm just going to set up a listener for that event. And what is the job of this listener? That I'm going to assign a task to this listener. So this listener is going to have some sort of task here, some sort of task here. And what is the responsibility of this listener? That listener is actually going to keep check of this event. And as soon as this event is going to happen, this listener is actually going to run that task for me. So I can give it any task, any JavaScript code. I can basically give it any JavaScript code here. So let me just show it to you how you can set up a listener. To set up a listener, you can only set up a listener on an HTML element. So I want to set up a listener on this button here, on this button. So first step is to grab that button. Second step is to type the variable dot add event listener. Okay, dot add event listener. That's all. Now this add event listener is a function, and this function basically accepts two parameters, two arguments here. The first argument is the type of event you are going to listen for, because we are going to have so many events like click, drag, select, and so many so forth. So first parameter, sorry, the first argument will actually going to be the name of the event. So let me just press Control space. So these are the events that you can listen for. And this list is very huge. Like if mouse enter, key press up, key press down, and pause mouse. See, so many of them. And I'm looking for just one, which is called as click here. Okay, click. So I'm going to listen for the event click. And as the second argument, you need to pass a function. And the second argument is actually going to be our task. So what is the task is? So task is just a function. So let me create a function here. Let's say task. And inside this task, like it's just a function. Oh, sorry, like I was creating arrow function. And let me remove all this function task. And inside this, let me just write console.log clicked here. Yeah, so I'm creating a function. You can basically name this function anything you want. I'm just going with a very generic name task here. So as a second argument, you just need to pass this thing here. As a second argument, you just need to pass this thing. Okay, so name of your function, just the name of your function, and that's it. Now we have successfully set up an event listener for this button. So for this button, you have successfully set up an event listener, and this event listener, add event listener, is going to listen for the click, and every time the click is going to happen, it's just going to execute this task. And what a task is just a function. Yeah, you just need to pass a function name here. Let me just check it if it's working. Right click inspect, and let's just go inside a console and see. Every time I'm clicking here, I'm getting this console clicked. Here. Isn't it fun? Like now let's just step up ahead. Like as I told you, like this function is actually just a, what is a function? Function is just a small JavaScript code. So I can basically write here, let me just write here title dot inner HTML, or let's say text content, because inner HTML is not that good. Text content equals to hello world, and now save it. So now this function, the function is just making our title, this title dot text content equals to hello world. As soon as I'm going to click on this thing, this button here, we have a setup event listener, which is just going to execute this function. And let's just see, I'm getting this hello world. I think it's behind it. Let me just move it ahead, move it on the top, title, position fixed, instead of bottom. Let me just write here top here. Okay, I'm getting this hello world. Yep. And now let's just add one more stuff here. So instead of that, let me just set up event listener for this title as well. So for this title, let me just have okay, a padding, little bit of padding, let's say 10 pixels, and I just want to have thin border here. Border, let's say 10 pixels of 1 pixel, solid 3. Yeah. So this is what we are getting. Okay, nice. Now I just also want to set up a event listener on this element. So okay, so let's just set up one more event listener here, and every time you're going to click on this event listener, it's actually going to change its background color. It's actually going to change its background color. Okay, so let's just do this. So I'm going to set up an event listener on the title dot add event listener, and the event I'm going to looking for is, let's say, hover, or let's say mouse enter. So there are so many of them, like mouse enter and mouse leave. Let me just go with click for now, just to keep everything simple. And I'm going to create a function with the name of change title background. Okay, so I'm creating this function here, change title background. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create an array of colors. Okay, so that we can choose some different colors from here. So inside this, let's just have some different color names like green, blue, yellow, pink, purple. I think these much are more than enough. So let me just show the complete code to like what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm basically creating an array of color which is having multiple colors here, and then I'm setting an event listener on our title. On our title, I'm just setting up an event listener for the click, and the function to be like the task is going to be this one. So as soon as a user is going to click on this title, I just want this thing to get executed. And inside this, let me just write a single line of code. Let's say a random. So this is how you can generate a random color. Okay. So let me just show you the demo first of all, how it's gonna look like. So now I have this, and every time I'm gonna click on this, it will change its background color. See, every time I click here, it is changing its background color. Okay, so this is how you can set up the event listener. And if you're wondering like what I have written here, we are actually going to write this code in tomorrow's program. Tomorrow we are going to create a game. In that game, we are going to do this sort of stuff too much, like literally too much. So what is this here? So this is actually, we are generating a random number, a random color from this array. So let me show it to you how I did this. So cons, first of all, I actually need to generate a random number. So how you can generate random number in JavaScript? There's a function for that called as math.random. Math.random. So this function is actually going to generate a random number for us. So this thing actually used to generate a random number for us between 0 to 1. Between 0 to 1. And there's a little bit of mathematics. So we are going to actually understand this thing in greater detail tomorrow. So it's going to be a first topic. Now I'm basically generating a random number between 0 to the length of this array, which is I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm generating a random number between 0 to 6, and that is I'm using. So now title, and there's something called math.floor. Math.floor if you want to remove the decimals. So I'm removing the decimals, and later I'm adding that as a background color. So this color is an array, and I'm just passing a number here, a random number here. So it is going to be 1 to 6. So these two lines are actually generating a random number, and we will understand this in greater detail tomorrow. So it's actually not today's topic. Now I can have any as much list I want, and every time you're going to click on this, it's actually going to change it. Yeah. So that's it for the event listener. So what we did, like we grabbed the element by the ID, yeah, and we also changed some styling by doing this and all. So now you know how you can change the style. So to change the style, I told you two ways. And also I told you about the event listener. So there are so many event listeners, but right now we are just using click. And you can also listen for rest of the events. Just double click here and press control space. It's just going to show you all the events possible, like double click, drag and drag start, drag leave. So anything that is possible on a website, you can listen for that. Don't we need to mention the round bracket while mentioning the function name? Like here, yep, we have used this. Oh, okay, here no, here not. We don't have to. Here just we passing the name of the function. We are not actually calling this function. So when you want to call a function, so suppose if I want to call this function, so in that case, you need to write the name and afterwards the round brackets. So this is actually calling a function. So you're right now you're calling the function. This function is actually going to execute this piece of code. But here we are not calling the function. We are just passing the function here. So the responsibility of calling this function is on in this listener. So this listener is actually going to call our function in the background. So you just need to mention the task, and task is nothing. Task is just a function here. So we call this thing callback functions. Okay, so you will understand about these things as you do the advanced stuff here. In CSS also similar to an object like attendance link. Aman Chauhan, yeah, for the attendance, can we switch the website content completely after? Yeah, you can do that, Dinesh. If you want, you can literally change anything. Like you have complete control over your HTML document. You can change the stylings, you can change the content, you can change the images, animation. You can do literally whatever you want to do with this. Like if you have heard about React.js or AngularJS, Vue.js, so in that we don't create when we create the web apps, we don't even write a single line of HTML there. All the HTML thing is actually created using JavaScript. So all the modern apps in the all the modern websites, we don't even write a single line of HTML at all. We generate the HTML using our JavaScript because it's much faster and much more dynamic in nature. So you can have many more features and also the performance benefits and all. And also the coding development experience is much better there. Yeah, about the attendance first of all. So for the attendance, I think you will see this one link here. So just click on this and you can mark your attendance. You can just mark your attendance here. Just go a little down, and I have already marked the attendance for the day 4. So you will mark your attendance here, yeah. And by the way, if you want to basically connect with us, you can just click here related to our development program, because right now we are giving away like 7,000 rupees off. If you and you can use the coupon code refer20 for that, and you are actually going to find that coupon in our description here only. So gift of 7,000 rupees and earn up to 80,000 rupees. So not only you're going to get 7,000 rupees off, but you can also earn 80,000 rupees. All you have to do is to click on this link, and the coupon code is refer20, by the way. So the coupon code is refer20. Let's open this, and you can use this refer code refer20 directly. If you are getting enrolled to our courses, all you need to do is to paste this coupon code there, refer20, and you will get 7,000 rupees off directly. And if you want to share this with anybody, so just click on this copy refer. Okay, and you will get the two links. This is for the full stack web development. The second one is for the full stack data science. You can share these links with your friends or family member, whoever is in need of these courses. So anybody who want to change their job, who are looking for a new job or something like that. So no matter if they are, or if you are a school student, or let's say already a professional working somewhere, or you're a college student or a college dropout, anybody can get enrolled into our courses. The duration is 6 months, and we guarantee job every time. As you can see, the first chat that I got in today is like some of our student got placed in Capgemini, and right now I think the placement is going on in Let's Upgrade. So if you want to be part of that, it's a very great time, because we're starting a new batches from 10th of December. By the way, you can copy the codes for this, each one of them. So if you want to copy the code, if somebody just want the data science program, you can copy the refer for that only. So this is the refer link for the data science. And if you just want to share the web development program, you can do that. All the teaching we do in a Let's Upgrade is actually the project oriented. So you are going to have more than 15 projects throughout the session. And in that project, like I personally take the web development part. So here there we complete Node.js, React.js, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, everything in very, very, very advanced. Like you cannot find that type of content anywhere else, because we literally go and we are going to touch all the topics. And for the backend Node.js, Express, Socket.io, MongoDB, how you can deploy your servers, how you can deploy your website, and how you can be a full stack developer there. Interview process is also handled by us. And the prize money you can start, like if you're going to have one successful refer, you're going to get 2,000 rupees, or you can basically have a wireless mouse. And if you're going to refer 8 people, you're going to get a MacBook Air or 80,000 rupees in cash. Okay, so that was the thing I wanted to tell you people. Okay, moving on here. Yep, so it's a really great time to get enrolled to our courses. Okay, how can I display a scrollable image like Amazon website? So that's gonna, like for Dinesh, if you want to know more about that, you can watch our Netflix making a clone. So in the Netflix clone, I created that sort of scrollable thing here. When the essential for advanced JSS, Utpal, we will update that. Yeah, we are going to update that. Okay. So before ending our session, obviously we have 10 minutes more left. I just want to tell you multiple ways by which you can grab some element. So right now we have just used the get element by ID. So let me just tell you some more ways by which you can grab the element, and you can use them according to your liking. So the second one is, so let's just grab the button. Na? Let's just grab the button, and let's just have some content here, like hello. Yeah. So suppose if you want to get your element on the basis of its class name. So suppose this button is going to have a class of, let's say, BG black. Yeah, black here. Okay, BG black. So this is the class, and let me just give this same class to our title as well. Yeah. So like obviously this class is not doing anything right now. But suppose if you want to grab an element on the basis of the class name, there's this very simple function for that, document dot get element by ID, sorry, by class name. Okay, get elements by class name. And here you just need to mention the class name. I think the class was BG black here. BG black here. And you can save the elements inside a variable. So I'm creating a variable, let's say el, like this. And let me just log it out, so you won't we won't need this right now. So I'm just going to put here, this one here. Let's just make this thing a little bigger, and console.log el. The only difference here is going to be that I'm going to get an array. See, I'm getting an array. So if you can focus here, that then in this array, the first item is our title and the second is our button. So both of these elements were actually having that class, isn't it? Both of the elements were having that class BG black. So that is why you can see I'm getting the two elements in the form of array. So the first element is actually what it captured first, so the title, and the second one is just, so I can also hover over here, so it is also showing the targeted element. So if suppose if you just want to grab the first element, so element, and it's an array, isn't it? It's an array, so you can mention the index here. So suppose if you just want to grab the first one, and I can just change the background color style background color to red, and now that first thing is getting red here, and at the index 1 we are actually having that button. So now button is red. Okay, now the button is red. So this is actually about the get element by class name. Okay, so the difference is only that in the case of ID you are just going to get a single element, but if you choose to use the class name, you are actually going to get multiple elements, because obviously multiple elements are going to have the same class name. So it's a basic CSS thing now. that ID can be just given to one element. And about the classes, multiple elements can have the same class name. And moving on, so then we have something else, we call it as a query selector. So it's a very fun, it's a very useful one. So what is about this query selector? So document dot query selector. So inside this, you can basically mention anything. So in the query selector, you just need to pass the CSS query. And what are these CSS query? So in CSS, we have tag selector like h1, div, p, span. Yep. So you can write them here. Yeah. Or you, if you in CSS, how we select something on the basis of ID? By putting hash here. So in CSS, we have the ID selector. And also in CSS, we have the class selector. So how class selector works? Just use the dot, no? Dot in the class name. So inside this query selector, you can just write a CSS query. So I'm just going to write here, let's say ID of btn. Yeah. So it is actually going to select the element with the ID of btn. Yep. And let me just show it to you. Console.log el. And see, I'm getting this button here. I'm getting this button here, this button, the black button. Yep. And if I want to grab the ID with the title, I'm going to get the ID with the title. See, now I'm getting this complete h1, this h1 here. If I want, I can also pass here the class name. So what was the class name? Dot bg color. I think it was bg black here, and save it. And now I'm getting this thing. Yeah, the bg black. So you can do that in by query selector, or like if you just want to select the button tag, just type your button tag. So this is the tag selector, like h1. It's a tag selector. So this query selector is basically a one gun to shoot anything. So you can basically write a CSS query and it's just going to grab that. But there's only one problem with the query selector, is that even if multiple elements are going to satisfy a condition, it is just going to return you one element. So there, if you have focused here, so if I use the class name, so here I'm targeting the element on the basis of class dot bg black, and in my HTML I'm actually having two elements with these classes here. But if you can see here, I'm just grabbing the first one. So query selector is just going to give you single element, even though multiple elements are satisfying that class. Yeah. So, but there's a hack for that. You can write query selector all. So there's something called as query selector all, and it is now it will select everything, and everything you will get inside a array. So inside an array, you will get all the elements which are satisfying this condition. So see, and now I'm getting two elements here. So there is query selector and query selector all. If you just want to select a one element, just go with query selector. And if you want to select all the elements, use query selector all. And inside this, all you need to do, you just need to pass here the CSS query, like tag selector, CSS selector, I mean ID selector, or the class selector. Yep. So this is the most convenient one, and most of the time I also use this. Can we create a thread in JavaScript? Yeah, Dinesh, you can. So in JavaScript, we have web workers and service workers. So these are the threads. So it's little different from Java. The role of Java is little different than JavaScript. So yeah, you can do that. By default, JavaScript is single threaded, and you can create multiple threads if you want to, and all those threads will work in the background. Yep. Okay, guys. Yeah, so we covered the selectors, the tag selector, class selector, ID selector, query selector, and the query selector all. Then we understood how you can set up an event listener, and also how you can set up, you can change the styling and the text content. And tomorrow we are going to create a game by all the knowledge we have acquired till now. So it's gonna be a very fun game and a very fun thing that we are going to do tomorrow. So don't forget to join tomorrow's session. And before ending our session, let me just remind you one more time that it is a very great time if you want to join our courses, our full stack program. You are directly getting 7,000 rupees off, and I don't know how long this offer is gonna be there. So previously there was some different code. Now we have the different one. Yeah. So use the coupon code refer20 when you are going to purchase any of our courses like full stack program. And if you want to talk with us, you can talk us from we can have a conversation here, and we can decide what you want to do. Yeah. So that's it for this session, and I'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we are going to create a game, and that's it. Yeah. Bye bye. Take care. See you tomorrow.